Ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, honorable members, I welcome you to the 16th edition of the Virtual Leadership Seminar under the auspices of Youth Impact Movement. Let's start with prayers. Almighty God, we humbly beseech Thee to look with favor upon this movement. We thank you for this program. Grant that with this program we'll be enlightened and be guided, clarity, insight be given to us. We call for the eloquence of our guest speaker and host that they may deliver and make this virtual leadership seminar a memorable and resourceful one to our personal development, capacity building, and growth. We commit into thy hands all participants that they may understand and adopt all that will be taught today. Amen. Ladies and gentlemen, I can see online the minority leader of the Third Parliament of Youth Impact Parliament Ghana, Honorable Hubert Agbahode, Youth MP for catching off. I can also see Honorable Kelvin Frankfurt Bette, who is also one of our youth MPs, and Honorable Eric Aqua. I have not seen that name before though, but I'm sure he is a friend of our guest speaker. And our guest speaker himself, who will speak to us after I introduce him to the house. I'll move on with the welcome address. Mr. Guest Speaker, honorable members, fellow participants, it is an honor for me to host this memorable event as the Executive Director of Youth Impact Movement. This youth organization is focused on impacting its members positively and significantly. This occasion assiduously promotes this vision that this movement has been built on. Honourable members, the theme for today's leadership seminar and the 16th edition is examining the role of the Electoral Commission in Ghana's elections process. Focus on voter registration. And this topic will be handled by our guest speaker, who is in the person of Mr. Daniel Nuku Kove. He is the former University of Professional Studies, Accra, Students Representative Council Electoral Commission Chairperson. He is actually an election analyst and a youth activist. I would introduce him further right away. Honourable members, I hereby wish to, on behalf of leadership of this movement, humbly welcome all participants, most especially our guest speaker to our 16th edition of the Virtual Leadership Seminar. Thank you all and welcome once again. Now, to honorably introduce our guest speaker before he speaks to us, may I, with humility, now speak and tell you all about who he is, the person we are going to listen to. Ladies and gentlemen, the handsome man that you can see on your screen in white shirt over there is called Mr. Daniel Nuku Kove. Mr. Daniel Nuku Kove is a young and aspiring leader who has made a significant impact in the Ghanaian political and educational space. He had his first degree, Bachelor of Science in Accounting, and his master's degree in Peace, Security, and Intelligence Management, all from the same university, the University of Professional Studies, Accra, UPSA. Honorable Kove was the chairperson of the Electoral Commission back in UPSA SRC. He was a member of the Electoral Commission of the All African Students Union, and later he became the Director of Elections for the Honorable Francis Xavier Sosu, who is currently the member of Ghana's Parliament representing the Madina constituency on the ticket of the National Democratic Congress. He is also a member of the Elections Committee of the Madina constituency of the NDC. Honorable members, Mr. Daniel Nuku Kove worked as an assistant registrar at Excellent Business College, and he also lectured economics, business finance, marketing, and human resource management. Mr. Kove was the youngest aspirant in the just ended National Democratic Congress, the NDC's parliamentary elections, in a country that has inspired many young people in the field of politics. He contested as parliamentary aspirant, seeking to become the parliamentary candidate in the Central Town constituency in the Volta region. Honourable members, I now humbly introduce to you Mr. Daniel Nuku Kove. Mr. Daniel Nuku Kove, our guest speaker, I humbly introduce to you your participants and audience for this 16th Virtual Leadership Seminar hosted by Youth Impact Movement. Now, I do respectfully now call on you, our guest speaker, to take the floor and now make your presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chairperson and Speaker of the Youth Impact Parliament. I want to use this opportunity to thank the leadership of this movement for putting up such a wonderful program that seeks to educate young people, the nation, and the entire world about what leadership and governance is and the role of young people. I also want to use this opportunity to introduce two of my people. I realized joined the space, and then one of my close brothers also joined. Eric Akwa was also a former student leader in the University of Professional Studies, Accra, and then still doing a lot of youth activism. So he's also on the space. I see Christopher Anku. I want to say this young man inspired me a lot. Back in the days when I was in the university, he discovered me. This was the man who discovered me and then groomed me to where I am today. I remember when during one of the meetings with Honorable Sosu, he told me that, young man, just get in touch with me right after your meeting. And I got in touch with him. Through him, I became the Director of Elections for Honorable Sosu during the 2019 parliamentary race that brought victory to the MP today, and proceeded from there to be a member of the elections committee. And when I was when I had a dream of becoming a member of parliament in the Central constituency, he was the one who managed my campaign. He managed me as an individual until today. Has been doing a lot of wonderful things in my life. I want to use this opportunity or this platform to also say thank you, and also to say welcome to this space. Since he's here, he's also going to add his voice. He's also going to add his voice. I don't see this platform today to be a platform for presentation, but it is a platform that we are going to use to dialogue and talk about this great topic, because it is an issue of national concern. It is an issue of national security. Anything done by the Electoral Commission must be of concern to every citizen, because it is one of the sensitive offices that could plunge a country into chaos. And thankfully to God, we as a nation, we have conducted ourselves well, even though sometimes we may not be satisfied with the conduct of the Electoral Commission. So I welcome you all as well. And also I want to say, Mr. Christopher, you're welcome. If I could just hear your voice, then I can proceed with the permission of the host.
Thank you very much. I am very much present and following. I appreciate your acknowledgement.
Thank you. I will go straight. Mr. Speaker, how many minutes do I have, please?
This is a virtual space, and as much as you need, so far as it's within an hour, at most, an hour 30 minutes.
Very well, thank you. So the topic is already defined, that examining the role of the Electoral Commission in Ghana's electoral process, and then focus on voter registration. We are not going to only focus on voter registration. Voter registration is just one of the mandates or functions of the Electoral Commission. We are also going to look at other functions of the Electoral Commission, and especially functions that they have performed within the premise of the Constitution and what they have been doing. We'll look at how satisfied we have been and how dissatisfied we have been over the years with the office of the Electoral Commission. But as we all know, we've all passed through or gone through the electoral process one way or the other. And as always said, or by the Constitution, we say the Electoral Commission is independent. But when we say the Electoral Commission is independent, what does it mean? That is where a lot of even commissioners and people who work with the Electoral Commission get it wrong. That the Electoral Commission is an institution established by law that must carry out their functions and mandates without any interference by any individuals. State or is independent. But the question again is whether or not can the Electoral Commission perform its functions without working together or complement from other institutions. Without working the day, try to accuse the government of the day why the Electoral Commission, or why they feel the Electoral Commission is being manipulated by state official or the government by the day. Now, what is the role of the Electoral Commission? What basically is the role of the Electoral Commission? The role of the Electoral Commission, when we look at our Constitution, when we read Article 41 down to Article 45, the role of the Electoral Commission is clearly defined, and basically is to ensure that we have transparent and peaceful elections. But how to have a transparent and a peaceful election, it is a process. The work of the Electoral Commission is not an event, it is a process. And the more reason why a lot of people argued out during the ASIN North hearing, the court issue that came around, the ASIN North embattled as a North MP of whether or not he declared, a citizenship with the Canadian, his Canadian citizenship or not. Some people argue that when the process began, he was still a citizen of Canada. All I'm trying to establish is that the role of the Electoral Commission starts right from whatever that contributes to an election, creation of regions, and anything that has to do with the constitutional right that is embedded in every citizen of the country. Now, what do we see today as a role of the Electoral Commission? In the voter registration, what did we see? The Electoral Commission organized a 21-day voter registration, a centralized voter registration in all the district offices. That over the years, we barely see. Others argue that somewhere 2017 or 2016, the Electoral Commission organized voter registration, limited voter registration in the one we saw this time around was a voter registration that was organized for people who turned 18. The last voter registration we did was in the year 2020, where the Electoral Commission organized an entirely new voters registration to create a new voter register. Now, one of the problems a lot of Ghanaians spoke about was the challenge of people living in rural areas, living in very remote areas, and the cost involved in coming to register as an eligible or as someone who has just turned 18. Now, you realize that the target the Electoral Commission gave itself, when you go to the Electoral Commission's website, they declared registering about 800,000 plus people onto the new voter register. Now, that was the last update as at the 20th day. I am here to see the update as at 21st, the end of the voters registration. Now, what is a worry during this process? The biggest worry is how a lot of Ghanaians are going to be disenfranchised, because we are dealing with two issues with a limited registration. One, we are still dealing with a guarantor system. That shows that if Kofi or if X is incurring a cost of 100 cedis in getting to the office of the Electoral Commission to register, if that young man is not having the Ghana card, it means that that person must incur extra 200 cedis, in total 300 cedis, to be able to transport two people to be able to guarantee for him to be able to register as an eligible voter. Number two, there's a current CI in Parliament that was shut down by Parliament, where the Electoral Commission was seeking to use just the Ghana card in registering of voters. Now, this is one of the very sensitive roles in our in the performance of the duty of the Electoral Commission. And if this role is not looked at well, it is one of the things that could destabilize our peace and security as a nation. So I'm going to always link the role of the Electoral Commission to our peace and security, because as I established earlier, the office of the Electoral Commission is very sensitive, very, very sensitive. And if you look at political or riots or chaos that have occurred in a lot of countries, it is because of the electoral tension that has caused most of these riots or chaos or instability in most of this country. And as thankfully, my big brother Christopher is in, and I'll give an opportunity to connect it to peace and security. He's a security expert, so I'll give him the opportunity to give us a brief education on that aspect. So the role of the Electoral Commission: one, registering voters onto the new voters register. Two, another role of the Electoral Commission is to ensure that any person who is due for election has all the necessary clearance to contest an election. I will touch on just few of the rules of the Electoral Commission and connect them to current happenings in the country. So we are looking at voter registration, whether they just ended 21-day voter registration has been successful. We have more than 33,000 polling stations, in the country. 330,000 polling stations in the country. The question is that has most of the people been able to register? No, because we have gone through the centralized EC registration. So if I cannot afford to come to the Electoral Commission's office, I cannot register. And the only time it is always advisable for the Electoral Commission to have a registration at the EC's office or the BIA office is when they are done with a decentralized registration and they think that there are few people still in the system that have not been able to register. And we say, okay, we have given you a grace period of maybe 45 days, 21 days. We came to all the polling stations to register eligible voters or people who have turned 18. Now we are done. We want to give you a grace period of 7 days. But this time around, we may not be able to afford the resources to go around. Then, if anybody who wants to register can come to the Electoral Commission's office to do the registration. That is fair, because we have an upcoming district assembly election that is coming up. And everybody must be given the opportunity to participate, because this is a fundamental right of every citizen or any citizen that has turned 18 and must have the opportunity to exercise this right. Our attitude or our actions must not disenfranchise any eligible voter. So we should not treat this registration as though because the district assembly election is not as serious as the national election. They are all serious. So that is one of the very sensitive rules. And number two, the Electoral Commission, another role they perform is to ensure the eligibility of any candidate. And I'm going to go back to the Asi North election, the Asi North constituency, into the by-elections. I will connect it to that. Now, what was the bone of contention? The bone of contention was that before 7th December 2020, Honorable Jechi Kwesi has renounced his citizenship as a Canadian. However, before he filed his nomination, or he was, given all the necessary clearance, he had communicated with the Electoral Commission that, well, I'm a dual citizen. I have renounced it, awaiting certificate. And these are all the necessary evidence I have to say that I've gone through the process, but the backlog or the backlash is not coming from me, but rather coming from the other side. Then the Electoral Commission says that you are good to go. We have gone through all the necessary documents you have tendered in, and we believe that you have the clearance to contest an election. Then after you have contested the election, and even before 7 December 2024, people were saying that he was elected, validly elected. However, our constitution says that one only becomes an MP when they swear the person in. But when we get to the question and answers, as a house, we will look at whether or not one becomes an MP during the process, or one becomes an MP during swearing, during or right after swearing in. So that is what we are going to examine in connection with one of the mandates of the Electoral Commission. So, giving clearance to eligible candidates who want to contest an election. Then another sensitive aspect is conduct of elections. And you see, when we talk about conduct of election, a lot of people get it misconstrued just to say that elections are organized, people are in the queue, they have voted peacefully, and everybody went home. There were no casualties, no chaos. It doesn't end there. In fact, the conduct of election starts right from casting of ballots to the declaration of results. That is another aspect of election. So when you look at where many a time there are riots, vetting is nothing. Sometimes during the voting process, there's no chaos. But during sorting and counting, that is where there's a problem, because whatever that has been counted, recorded, signed, and declared is what is validly declared. So let's go back to election 2020, Techiman South. There were shooting, There were no shooting during the voting process, but we only saw people shooting during the counting. And that is why, if we are not careful as a nation, and if we don't redefine our electoral process and electoral rules, and also institutions and agencies that also participate in elections, we will have a problem. And why are we saying this? Many people are now believing that our court is no more, we cannot trust our court anymore, and that anything that is declared, you can just go to court and the court is likely to overturn it, and then whoever has been declared will be validly declared. Then when these things continue, you realize that a lot of people will be taking the law into their own hands. And because I don't want to go to the court, I want us to settle all the scores at the election grounds. So the role of the Electoral Commission is seasonal. However, it is the most sensitive institution that carries a very sensitive rules that can destabilize a country. And so when examining the rules of the Electoral Commission, people ask, questions that, we've had a very successful elections, there were no casualties, and they also determine, another rule of the Electoral Commission is that they also determine the election fees, or we say filing fees for candidates or for elections. And someone will say, why? Elections are funded by the state. They are also funded by other institutions and even donor countries. During the voter registration, we didn't have any donor funding. We didn't have any donor funding from anywhere. And that is where I come back to the issue of the Electoral Commission being independent. When the Electoral Commission is not entirely independent, because if an Electoral Commission is independent, they should be able to file. They should be able to fund all their budget. But so long as institutions or the state funds your budget, it means that we can hold you accountable. And we have every right to demand accountability from the Electoral Commission, not only on the amount of money spent on election, but also the role of the Electoral Commission. And if you go back to the case of the NDC versus the Electoral Commission election 2020, you realize that Chatuchikata, one of the renowned lawyers we have in this country, made a statement that when the Electoral Commission was denied the opportunity, or denied herself the opportunity of answering questions, we as a nation fund the budget. Number two, we use taxpayers' money to fund a budget, and you carry out an activity and we demand accountability. So whenever there are issues with the role of an Electoral Commission, or the roles of the Electoral Commission, or in carrying out the role of an Electoral Commission, we need to ask questions. We need to ask questions. And another thing that we hardly see in our constitution, but we must pay attention to, is that our Electoral Commission must not have people with political backgrounds. You can definitely sympathize with a political party, but it becomes very sensitive when you occupy an office of the Electoral Commission, whether a director or any staff. It means that you must be so neutral. Whatever you do must be transparent and must be fair to anybody that is participating in an election or whatever. Now, today, political parties accuse the Electoral Commission of going to IPAC and always announcing decisions to them. Yes, IPAC is not take decisions for the Electoral Commission. They only contribute and make proposals. However, to strengthen democracy, one of the things we look out for is that when the political parties that form IPAC also make suggestions, it means that they have listened to people, they feel that they must be involved. But where you go for an IPAC meeting, it looks like maybe the Electoral Commission is only or always communicating decisions they have taken, then you realize that political parties or individuals begin to run down the Electoral Commission. And one of the greatest mistakes we should be doing as a nation is to always run down an Electoral Commission. And that also is a responsibility of the Electoral Commission to carry out their duties fairly. Because the moment the citizens lose trust in the Electoral Commission, then that is the beginning of danger. That is the beginning of danger for the Electoral Commission. Now, we have our Electoral Commission hierarchies. People ask questions that what is the role of the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, that is a returning officer, and it is so simple. The returning officer is the chief executive of the Electoral Commission, and is the only one having the mandate to declare presidential results. That is the only person, unless otherwise stated that maybe the absence of the returning officer, that another person has been designated to carry out that mandate. It's different. But the returning officer has one simple role, that is basically to declare presidential results. Then when it comes to the district level, we have the returning officers, and they also have the mandate to declare parliamentary results at the constituency level, at the district or municipal level. And even though we are able to tally presidential results and announce them, the returning officer gives the final declaration of presidential results. So, whatever we know to be starting from election, from the process of election, from the beginning to the end of election, the peaceful election, constitutes the role of the Electoral Commission. They set out dates for elections, they open nomination, they announce it. And another thing is the CI. That's a constitutional instrument. And the question is that, why do we need a CI in an election? We always or only come up with a CI if there's some ambiguity in the constitutional mandate of the Electoral Commission, or we think that there should be, some laws that might be amended. Then we come up with a CI. We feel that, well, the law we have, or the clause we have, is so vague, and then we need to redefine that law. Then we put those in the CI that helps or adds up or complements the Constitution in running a successful election. Then the CI talks about registration, how registration is going to be done, the mode of registration. The CI talks about how declaration is going to be done. The CI talks about how sorting and counting is going to be done, who is going to be doing the sorting and counting. The CI talks about the number of days that we are going to use in collating results. And again, the CI talks about how results are going to be collated. In 2020, the CI the Electoral Commission uses, that we are still using, says that they're going to collate election to the regional level and then before it goes to the national level. And people are asking, now, we have 257 constituencies that must just send presidential results. Now, why don't we collate results at the constituency level, then send them to the national level for final declaration? Why do we now have to collate at the regional level before sending that results to the national level? And there are two things. If we look at the logic, if we are able to collate our results at the regional level, it means that the national level should receive 16 valid results. That means that 16 regions. But the question again is that 257 constituencies, given a breakdown, will give you 16 regions. Then we have about 33,000 plus polling stations that make up the 257 constituencies, breaking down to 16 regions and to the national level. Now, if there is any distortion in a particular constituency, let me use Madina constituency for example. Madina constituency has 307 polling stations. It means that the Electoral Commission at the constituency level, the district Electoral Commission, must be able to collate 307 polling station results for parliamentary and presidential results. Now, when you go to the Volta region, for instance, the Volta region has 18 constituencies. And let me use my constituency, Central Town, for example. Central Town has 108 branches, polling stations. Now, in collating the results for Central Town, it means that you need 108 parliamentary and presidential results. When you are done, the Volta region and the Regional Electoral Commission must receive 18 results from the 18 constituencies. Now, the question is that how do you run their checks to ensure that the results coming from a particular polling station is correct. And that's where the problem is. So you realize that back in the days, election 2016, election 2012, election 2008, the results were trooping in from different constituencies. And before the results come from the various constituencies, the polling agents from the various constituencies are also ensure that the results that are collated from the branch or the polling station level are correct, and it's a true reflection of what the will of the people. But so monitoring something or during the petition hearing in election 2020, you realize that one of the pink sheets from a particular region, that is from the eastern region, there were two pink sheets, and then one was having they were having two results. So now, how do you now check that result? It means that you are going back to the eastern region to check the results from all the constituencies that were sent to the region. Now you break it down and go back to all the polling stations in the eastern region. So in passing or approving a CI, there are a lot of things that are looked at before a CI is being approved. And it's one of the concerns that's been raised in Parliament recently about regional coalition center before going back to the national coalition center. And another role of the Electoral Commission is the declaration of results. However, before any election result is declared, there's something we call the election security. Now, the election security talks about serial numbers, stamps. Most importantly is the polling agent. And that is why anybody who disagree with the Electoral Commission when the Electoral Commission says that, elections are being declared. However, we got to realize that there were some discrepancies in the figures, or if another results came from a particular constituency and they changed the figures. Anytime the Electoral Commission is changing figures, polling agents must be there to agree. Number two, the Electoral Commission in recording election results, it's not done in vacuum. It is done in the presence of polling agents, after which the polling agents sign, or if for any reason any polling agent declines to sign, the reason must be stated. Please, are we all on the same page?
Yeah.
Great. So the functions of the Electoral Commission, it's so huge. I mean, a lot, and we cannot talk about all the functions today, but I decided to touch on the functions that we always raise concerns about, the functions that we always talk about or we always get worried about. And one of those functions I spoke about is the voter registration. Another function I spoke about is decisions that are taken at IPAC. Another function I spoke about is the conduct of elections. But the question again is, as a country, I always ask, how are Electoral Commission members selected? Those who work at the district assembly level, or the district level, how do we select these people to work with the Electoral Commission? What rigorous process did they go through? Selection process did we go through? I remember in 2020, they put out a letter and invited people who are willing to work with the Electoral Commission. People come and create problem for the Electoral Commission, which they do not even intend to. So long as there's party interest, our democracy can always be compromised. So it is time we redefine some of the things we do as a nation and say that, look, we are recruiting people at all district offices. And then we should be ready to invest resources to say that at every polling station, we should know the people we are working with. In election 2024 is coming. Let me not go far. The district assembly election is coming in December. The Electoral Commission is going to work with people at every polling station. What is the selection process? What are we going to go through? I am a member of the National Democratic Congress, and I applied to work with the Electoral Commission. And during the process, I realized things are not going well with my party. Don't you think I'll be tempted to do something that will compromise the elections? Don't you think that I'm going to try, knowing Kofi is an NDC member, don't you think I'm going to tear two of the papers for him to compromise the elections? So there's a lot. And over the past eight years to almost a decade, our Electoral Commission has always been accused of favoring a political party. I'll go back to 2012 down to 2016. The former Electoral Commissioner and the deputies were accused strongly of working for the government of the day. Today, the Electoral Commission, the new Electoral Commissioner, and the deputies are accused of working for the government of the day. But let's look at the two cases. And this is where, much as we are talking about the Electoral Commission, we cannot deal with the Electoral Commission without looking at political activities within the Electoral Commission. The most worrying aspect is when you have members of the Electoral Commission that makes comments or highly political comments. Remember, one of the deputies of the Electoral Commission who say that it will be a disaster to see a political party come back to power. Then you realize that at the end of the day, you're putting into the minds of Ghanaians that, look, you will always be compromised. Then you see someone or a member of the Electoral Commission, or before he or she became a member of the Electoral Commission, always on television or radio, speaking for a particular political party and hitting hard or speaking in favor of a particular political party, and today being a referee. I mean, how can I do a good job? So we will only have Electoral Commission members being fingered based on their attitude and comments, and especially when the Electoral Commission is not ready to listen to CSOs, institutions, agencies, and even discerning individuals who have worked within the space of the Electoral Commission. I believe before this voter registration, there were a lot of people who raised a lot of concerns that, look, they're going to disenfranchise people. Let me state one example. In my constituency, there's a town called Abadiwekume. It's a very small island in central town, and you can only cross the river before coming to town. Now, the question is, we should look at the risk. One, the risk involved in coming to do your registration. Number two, you must pay to cross, and you are not only crossing, you are crossing with guarantors if you don't have a voter, the Ghana card. But then again, we look at running other institutions that complement the Electoral Commission. Today, we are using the Ghana card to do registration. And the question is that, how many Ghanaians have their Ghana card with them? So one of the reforms we should be looking at is I would suggest strongly for the Electoral Commission it's either the NIA expedite action on their registration process and ensuring that every Ghanaian has their Ghana card. If that is not possible, then the Electoral Commission must just continue with the process of using the guarantor system. Now, aside that, I am hoping that next year, that is 2024, the Electoral Commission will go back to every police station to register everybody or any eligible Ghanaian or anybody who has turned 18, and we will not come back to the electoral offices. Because I'm saying this and I'm foreseeing this because the Electoral Commission claimed that they were targeting to register about 700,000 Ghanaians. However, they have registered about 836,000 plus Ghanaians. Now, it is very likely, very possible to say that, we have exceeded our target, and if we go the same way, anybody who is willing to register will definitely register. Did we take time to assess the events at the polling stations or the Electoral Commission offices during the registration? So much chaos. Seeing old men, old women, our mothers, our fathers standing under the scorching sun. Seeing young people, coming very early in the morning and then on an empty stomach, believing that they will leave early. And then the most disgusting aspect is that people come, they are not able to register, they have to go back home, and so spending a lot of money coming, they have to go back home and come the following day. There must be some reform in our electoral processes. And the last I would want to say, and give my brother Christopher the opportunity to add his voice, is how we make the appointment of the Electoral Commission or members of the Electoral Commission. And I would always recommend that we should look at the appointment of the Electoral Commission. And I think it is time we take that mandate from the president. Yeah, it is time we take the mandate from the president or from the executive. and look at how Electoral Commission members are appointed without any political or partisan affiliation or political affiliation. And I mean, recently in the news, we all followed the proceeding in Parliament about the leak tape of the IGP and how some state institutions are perceived to help the Electoral Commission in rigging an election. And it is not a lie. It is not a lie. Look, when you go to some polling stations during the election, people get intimidated even by the kind of police officers or military men or the security apparatus that has been deployed. People get frightened. So I'm not even willing to come and cast my vote. And if I know that if I go to this particular town, it is a stronghold of the NPP, and I think that when we deploy a lot of servicemen there to scare a lot of people, the moment the voter turnout is low, it means that you are losing out on it. So we cannot say that because the Electoral Commission runs the show, other state institutions do not contribute to election rigging. And one of the mandates, of the Electoral Commission is to ensure that elections are not rigged. Is to ensure that elections are not rigged. We have a very transparent, free, fair, and firm elections in our country. So I would want to pause here and give my brother Christopher, who also has so much deep knowledge in election-related issues as well as security, to give us a brief and his thoughts on. He just left the meeting. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to end the presentation here. Then we can now go into discussing issues of the Electoral Commission, so that we can have thoughts from other members of the House. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, our guest speaker. I was actually enjoying the presentation, and I wish you hadn't ended as of now. I would wish that you keep on engaging the House until your colleague joins to add his take before we proceed with the questions and answers. Because I think whatever he would add up to the questions that we have for the discussion. But if you still propose that the discussion should start, we equally proceed. May I have your indication on that?
Mr. Speaker, I agree, no problem. But I just want to also make the other section very engaging, where we can all dialogue and then even debate on some of the rules of the Electoral Commission and how worrying they are, and look at how some of the reforms we can propose as young people, to either Parliament or petition the executive on the role of the Electoral Commission. The Parliament is yet to pass the new CI that I know they have asked the Electoral Commission to rework on the CI. So whilst Parliament, is waiting to come back to resume sitting or come back from recess, I think that some of the engagements we have here, the House can table it before Parliament to see how this can be included in the CI. So I just want us to look at have a discussion as a House, and probably those online could also join, and those streaming could also join. We can take questions and we can deal with it.
Very
when
well.
Christopher, you join.
Very well. Thank you very much, our guest speaker. Fellow participants, the floor is now open for questions, contributions to the entire discussion. Yes, Minority Leader of Youth Impact Parliament, Ghana, Mr. Hubert Sagbahode. The floor is yours.
All right. Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. And thank you, the guest speaker, Mr. Daniel. It was a nice presentation, and I really enjoyed it. Like the Right Honorable also said, I was actually enjoying the presentation, but we cannot use the whole night for that. And I'm so much impressed. Okay, so I would also like to add my voice to issues, one or two issues that you raised pertaining to the independence of the commission, and then if we actually trust the commission based on one or two things we the citizens feel that it shouldn't be in place, because it's like Hearts and Kotoko. Two people are going to play a match. Heart of Oak is now selecting the referee to be in the center of the match. Like, even though if that referee is doing something good, the other side of the team, like the opponents will not accept some one or two things if the election couldn't go on their favor. So I think this actual clause that the commission, the chairperson and other members are supposed to be appointed by the president. I beg to differ. There should be some kind of changes to that clause actually. And then Article 46, which talks of the 1992 Constitution, which talks about the independence of the Constitution, the independence of the Commission. One thing I will also ask is that, are they actually independent? There comes what the guest speaker said. If we say they are actually independent, then they should be ready to fund all their expenses and then other allowances that they will be taking, because all their expenses and then allowances are being charged to the consolidated fund, which is what the big account that we are having in the country. So when we say they are actually independent, at times I beg to differ, because it's like their hands are in the mouth of somebody. Somebody has to feed you before you also do something. Somebody has to give you something. You are not fully independent. So why do we take it as an independent commission? And then during you mentioned the IPAC meeting, the other opposition parties always say that during the IPAC meetings, the commission is not willing to take their suggestions, and then when we see other parties moving out of the IPAC meeting, and then they say they won't come back again. What actually is the cause? Each and every year or each and every election, we always say that, or you always hear citizens saying, I know we've been seeing that the Electoral Commission their policies are always in line with the ruling government. So this should be something that clause that the president is supposed to appoint the
Okay. I thought it was my network, but it appears we lost Hubert along the line.
Yes, I'm sure.
If you have grabbed the question that he asked or the conversation he's trying to trigger.
Hello.
Yeah, Hubert, we can hear you. Please proceed. Yes, we can hear you. Please proceed. Okay. Our guest speaker, if you can proceed to discuss the conversation he has brought up in relation to your topic, I think that will be okay.
Yes, I was listening until I got lost a bit. If you could just summarize the conversation was invoking, I would appreciate that, please.
Yes, thank you very much. He highlighted a lot of points you have already laid on floor with respect to the independence of the Electoral Commission, with respect to the president's appointing the Electoral Commission. He was talking about those aspects, and then he actually concurs to majority of the facts that you have laid. Yes, I think he was also establishing another new fact before his line went off. Yes. So I think one of the things that you can do for us is to tell us if the president should not appoint the Electoral Commission, then how are we going to get an Electoral Commissioner? Thank you very much.
Okay. We have like the GLC, Ghana Legal Council, that has been established by Parliament. I think that all the 200 and all Ghanaians are represented in Parliament by the 275 members of Parliament, and we can give Parliament the opportunity to draft or to come up with the appointment of the Electoral Commission, because you see the interests of the executive, I bet it differs from the interests of Parliament, because the question is that who holds the executive responsible or accountable? Is the legislatures or our Parliament of Ghana that holds them accountable? But the question is that who holds Parliament accountable? It is the constituents. We hold Parliament accountable. The ordinary Ghanaian. Because look, how do we hold Parliament accountable? When every member of Parliament cares to their constituency, we demand accountability from them. So I think that we could work that through Parliament, where Parliament can, enact a law and say, well, this is how we believe that the appointment of the Electoral Commission should be. We can come up with a commission to recommend. So on top of my head, I can only suggest to say that, look, we can deal with one of these bodies, but how it can be done, there must be a lot of stakeholder consultation. But the sole appointment coming or nomination coming from Parliament, and let me say appointment coming from the President, I think, and even with the Chief Justice. But with that of the Chief Justice, I know the recommendation comes from the bar. But the Electoral Commission, even with the judiciary, we can be a bit magnanimous. But the Electoral Commission, I think we should look at it, and I would say that we can run it through Parliament and look at how this can be done, and it is doable. It is doable. I realize my brother joined with another account. Christopher, if he's on, please, he should just put his microphone on. I don't know if he's on. Okay. All right, Mr. Speaker, please, we can proceed.
Well, while he tries to join, I've equally been thinking about how we can resolve this matter of taking away the appointing authority of independent bodies. Inclusive is the audit, the Auditor General, and some key officers of the Audit Service of Ghana, the justices of the Superior Courts and the Supreme Court, the Electoral Commission, and vice chairs. I am of the view that the Parliament of Ghana, working with the Public Service Commission, should open nomination for persons who have participated and contributed in that sector to apply for the position. And then when it comes, Public Service Commission is supposed to go through their files and details and open for the public to file whatever they have about the persons. And after that, Public Service Commission is supposed to shut down or bring down the list, reduce it to about 5, not more than 5, if anything, from 2 to 5. And then those 2 to 5 people will be brought to Parliament to be vetted by the Appointments Committee. And when they are vetted, they are brought to the House for the House to choose one, especially the Chief Justice, the Electoral Commissioner, the Auditor General. These 3 people, the Parliament of Ghana should have the opportunity to choose one person out of not less than 2 to 5 people. But for the other officers, they are just shortlisted by the Public Service Commission, and it comes to the appointment committee. The appointment committee recommend the person, and then just a voice vote being taken, and then they are being passed. That is the recommendation I wish to give, and I think it will help us because um, just as Hubert established, Kotoko and House of Oak, having House of Oak nominating the referee, obviously something is buried within that hatchet. So it is going to be fair to allow the people who are interested. Now, with what I said with respect to having participated in that field, if you are already a Supreme Court justice and you want to become the Chief Justice, you apply to Public Service Commission and your applications will be taken, and if it is 10, they'll be shortlisted to 5 and be brought to Public Service Commission. If it is just to become, you want promotion from the appeals court to the Supreme Court, you send your application to the Public Service Commission in collaboration with the Judicial Council. They shortlist, and then it goes to the Appointments Committee. You are vetted and confirmed by Parliament. So at the end, the people should nominate themselves. The appointing authority should go to the people themselves. I should have the right to nominate if I feel I'm qualified. Just as if I feel I'm qualified to be the president of Ghana, I go and pick a nomination form. Persons for such independent offices should pick nomination forms for such offices. Then they hold allegiance to the entire citizenry, because it was not upon the benevolence of someone that you were nominated for such a position. It was clearly your decision to serve the people, and through that you went through the shortlisting and you were vetted by the Appointments Committee of Parliament and chosen by Parliament. I believe this way we would have that independence and allegiance that we express from these independent bodies to owe to the citizenry and not to the appointing authority, which is the President of Ghana. This is my take. What do you think, sir?
Mr. Speaker, very, very great insight. I mean, very great insight, and I will totally side with you. Very great insight. I would also want to take a contribution from Eric Akwa, on this, on how we think that there should be a reform in appointing the Electoral Commission. That I'll come again.
That's Mr. Eric.
Hello, Eric Akwa.
Good evening, Mr. Speaker.
Evening.
And the House. Thank you, Mr. Danny. He's my boss. I don't know why he was doing that introduction, but he is my boss, and I've learned a lot from him. Boss, I want to say thank you for this opportunity again. You know, when it comes to appointments, I think Mr. Speaker was saying a lot about that, and it's something. It's not becoming a news again. You see, if the people are given the opportunity to elect or appoint, I think the pressure even on the appointee becomes less. Unlike party or let me say government of the day giving the full mandate, that's the saying that winners take all, where the party who wins the election decide on whoever he wants to appoint, and that is where this kind of a conflict of interest comes in. Now, outside of what the Speaker said, that if opportunity is given to Parliament, as Daniel also said earlier, that these are people who have been elected by the people. These are people who have been elected by the people. So, in a way, not to even repeat election like a general election, let's use the parliament, let's use these representatives to elect or appoint people of these independent positions. Some of these positions are very critical, like the Electoral Commissioner, something like the Special Prosecutor, or let's say the Auditor, and that of maybe some independent bodies that are aligned to the presidency or the executive. You see, now our peculiar issue that even happened at the just ended protest registration. You realize that in 2020 election, and in 2020 voters registration, the EC was able to register about 2 million new voters. Over 3 million new voters. That was almost, let me say, it was more of 8% of the total number of registered voters in the country. Now, fast forward, we come to 2023, where we are doing another voters registration. And it will shock you that as population is increasing, where we expect that the new voters or those doing new registration will also increase, we are rather having a lesser percentage of less than 1 million people voting for the new registration, which is this year. So if you track the difference of it in a percentage, there's a decrease of about 70% from the last registration we had. Now, you ask yourself, what is the cause? What is the issue? EC has made it up that he has a decision or he has opportunity or he has every right to decide how he wants to go about his operations. Fine, you may agree. But if it is standardized, I think when there are changes, people will begin to agree because of the standard of it. For instance, I think the opposition, when the elections brought in the CI, was actually going contrary to or saying something opposite of what we were saying, especially with the police stations registration or the centers. The Empower and Legal requested that the EC extend some of these exercises to the police centers, where people can have access to it. Honorable Danny spoke about it earlier on. And you see, it actually tells that there's a significant change. There's a significant change from the last voters registration as compared to this one because of the EC inability, or should I say in quotes, stubbornness, not listening to that of the people. Assuming he extended it to the police centers, I'm sure maybe the 3 million we had in the last registration would have been exceeded in this year's election registration. So this tells you that if the EC is giving that mandate or that independency, and there's no funding, as Danny said, he feels that yes, I own myself, I do everything myself. No one can actually confuse me, no one can actually direct me. There is that standard that every year when we are doing voters registration, we have to extend the exercise to the police centers. And there are no times we have to restrict it to only the district centers. If this standard is there, I don't think we should be coming back and forth, always challenging. Now, mind you, if the opposition is so wild, it can create a whole lot of confusion out of this. Because under no circumstance would they even accept that in a year where we extended it, we had about 3 million, and another year where the population is supposed to increase, we are rather having less percentage. And this can actually disturb the security or the stability of the country. And that is the threat here. So this is what I'll try to come up with, that if we are proposing anything to Parliament, we should propose that Parliament, the EC, should have a standard form of their own activities, something that you know anything they are doing to meet. There's a format for it, and under no circumstance should they adapt depending on who's favorite or who the government of the day. Thank you. Hello?
Yes, Eric. Mr. Speaker, with your permission, I think Adamu Usman is trying to make his is trying to make his contribution through the comment section. So maybe if I can read. He said, my comment, in conclusion, we all need a full constitutional amendment to tackle issues of this nature and other pressing issues in the country. I believe our current constitution has outlived its relevance and is the backbone of some lawlessness in the country because of its loopholes, my opinion. I mean, that's what I think all of us has been calling for. Constitutional amendment, constitutional review, and amendment to most of these issues. I side with you, Adamu Isuman, and as the speaker as well, and also great contribution from Eric. Yes. So that said, let's. I think it is time we give people the opportunity to put up themselves. Okay. Yes, Eric.
I'm very happy that Mr. Adamu is talking about constitutional reform. The question is, which government or which president will actually come to power and say, I want to change it? Because it comes to seem like when you are in power, you find it favorable to you and you find it difficult to change it. For instance, we know when the current government was in opposition, some of their promises and constitutional change and everything. Today, here we are, they are even changing it to worsen the case. Well, I'm not saying the current opposition party, they do similar or do worse, but can't we find it more, let's say, striking that should they come and they are not even going to do it, what will be the alternative? Should we always wait for the government of the day or the president to take charge or to lead such, let me say, should take such operations? What will be the alternative if government of the day is not taking it? What should be the alternative? These are things I want us to focus on, because we always talk about constitutional reform. Who is going to take the lead? And that is a question that we have to ask ourselves. Thank you.
All right. So as I was saying, I think let's allow citizens to put themselves up and for the role. So right, just as someone wants to be an MP, you take nomination, you go through it, you can do the job, and you become accountable to the masses. Yes, that's how I become accountable to the masses, and Ghanaians can hold you accountable on daily issues. Yes. All right. Mr. Speaker, maybe if we can go with other questions.
Yes, thank you very much, colleagues. Yes, please, honourable members, the floor is open for questions. If you have a question, you can raise your hand. But yes, if you have any question, raise your hands and I'll call you. But in the interim, I would like our guest speaker to elaborate on IPAC. Who are they? What is IPAC? What did they do? What is their relevance in the society? Why are they relevant? And yeah, after that, I'll ask the second question. So if you could speak more on IPAC, I think I'll like that.
Okay, so basically, IPAC has been in existence for so many years. I mean, since we have the Electoral Commission. And someone will ask, what is the IPAC is the Party Advisory Committee that is made up of all political parties registered and recognized by the Electoral Commission. Inter-Party Advisory Committee, registered and recognized by the Electoral Commission. And what is their role? Just as how do you call it? Just as every institution have stakeholders, they are the major stakeholders of the Electoral Commission. So IPAC, so what you see is that they have their meetings I think it happens once in 2 months or so, or when necessary. IPAC has calls for their meeting, they dialogue on issues, and sometimes I remember in the past the Electoral Commission can bring some proposals, and majority of the political parties who go for IPAC meetings will shoot it down and then say their position, and the Electoral Commission has no option than to go by the proposal. However, they look at the proposal and see if it serves the best interest of Ghanaian and also within the law. So that is IPAC, and I said earlier that the advice or the suggestions of IPAC is not compulsory, or it is not how do you call it? It is not what word can I use that will be appropriate? It is not an obligation for the Electoral Commission to always or to say that they are going to take the suggestion of IPAC. And so you in recent times there has been issues, complaints from electoral political parties, especially the main opposition party, that they go for IPAC meetings, they make suggestions, the Electoral Commission, they don't listen, they don't take any suggestions. All they do is that they go for IPAC meetings and they tell them the decisions they have taken, and they are communicating to them. So the argument was that, well, if you have already taken a decision and you think we should know, then you should just communicate to us and not necessarily inviting us for IPAC meetings. So that has been the role of IPAC. Basically, they advise, they guide, and they propose to the Electoral Commission on election issues, on electoral processes, and then activities the Electoral Commission wants to carry. That's the role of IPAC. And IPAC has been existing since the establishment of the Electoral Commission by law. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I would like you to speak on the CI. It appears that every election a new CI has to be drafted and presented to Parliament. The question is that, is it always necessary that a new CI is brought? Can't they just use the old one? And the CI, does it adequately provide for all the issues that are not provided for in the Constitution? Is the CI always adequate? Does the CI even bring more issues that tends to be a problem for us in the future? Can you elaborate more on the matters of the CI?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker. The CI, one, very important. It is a very important aspect of our electoral regulations. Okay? That is where you see the electoral regulations being stated more and being elaborated on. And what does the CI do? The CI comes to fill the lacuna we have in the Constitution, or the ambiguity in the Constitution, or where a provision is not made for. Now, old CIs can be used, but so long as there are emerging issues, there may be a new CI. For example, the new CI in Parliament is seeking to use solely the Ghana card for voter ID card, for people to be able to register a voter ID card. Number two, the new CI is seeking to give the Electoral Commission the mandate to do a continuous registration. And so whenever a CI goes to them, and the more reason why the CI goes to Parliament is that it must be passed and must become a law. Now, when it goes to Parliament, they don't just pass the CI; they debate the CI. The CI goes to, the various committees. Sometimes it is because the CI goes to the budget, so it goes to the Special Budget Committee. It goes through the Finance Committee. Sometimes Constitutional, Legal, and Parliamentary Affairs Committee. They look at the CI. You see, you know better the parliamentary democracy. The issues are dealt with at the committee level. So when they look at the issues, they think the Electoral Commission that will not favor, that will not be in line with the Constitution, they try to raise concerns. And on the second question asked, whether the CI tries to create a lot of problems, you see, so long as we have parties in opposition, where laws may not favor them, or they think that some laws are being made to just favor the government of the day, there will always be a problem. There will always be a problem with the CI. One of the things I was so happy about was when the new CI went to Parliament, both sides raised the issue about the fact that a lot of Ghanaians don't have the Ghana card. And in fact, people have registered and they still do not have the Ghana card. So there's a problem. So if this number of people are not having the Ghana card, how do they get the voter ID card? So you realize that you're going to disenfranchise a lot of people from getting their voter ID cards. So yes, the CI is good, it solves problems, however, it also creates problems. But if we deal with it well, if there's a lot of stakeholder consultation, if the CI, before a CI is drafted, if you do a very thorough consultation at IPAC, there wouldn't be problem in Parliament. Why am I saying this? It is the same political parties that go to IPAC that have their representations in Parliament. So if everybody is satisfied at IPAC, when the CI gets to Parliament, there's no problem. Probably they may just do some corrections and then minor issues. There won't be major problem. But when there's no consensus at IPAC, and it looks like, IPAC, because you're not clothed with the powers to take a decision or direct, the Electoral Commission on what to do. When they see, so now the political parties also become very stiff when the CI gets to Parliament. Because he didn't consult us at IPAC, we'll deal with it in Parliament. Because we will pass the CI for it to become a law. So that's why there's a problem. So that's the issue of the CI. You need it. We need a CI. You need a CI. Because if you don't have the CI, there are a lot of things that will get wrong. The EC on the day of election can just decide to end the election at 3 p.m. In the CI, the opening and close of election is rarely stated. How is sorting being done? How are we doing collation? It's rarely stated in the CI. So if we don't have the CI, there's a bigger problem. I have the CI, it solves majority of the problem. Until there's consensus, there'll still be a problem. But when we build consensus, and that must be built at the base, that is at IPAC. When those consensus are being built at IPAC, when you get to Parliament, you're good to go. I think Mr. Speaker Hubert, I can see his hand up. I think he has a question or wants to make a contribution to the question.
Yeah, Hubert.
All right, thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, and the guest speaker for the clarifications. I would like to ask, are the various opposition parties actually having a stake at the IPAC meeting? That's one question. And if truly they are having a stake in the activities of the Electoral Commission, I feel like there are some legit concerns that have been raised before this the just ended limited voters registration exercise. Being that the registration should be decentralized to the various polling stations. And the guest speaker raised a concern that in his constituency, they have an island that you have to cross a river. Imagine somebody is not having the Ghana card, and you have to bring 2 guarantors. And that person maybe just completed SHS. How would that person be able to fund those expenses to come all the way to acquire the said voters ID, which is mandatory for everybody who attain the age of 18 and the Ghanaian? I feel that various civil society organizations, various individuals in the country, citizens have concerns about this just the just ended limited registration. That the Electoral Commission has to take the concerns, because those concerns are very legit, but they feel that they are concerned or what they are what stated is final. And during the IPAC meeting, those issues have been raised, but it seems that they are whatever they said is final, and then what? No matter what other people say, they will not say it because the government of the day is speaking on their favor. Like, I don't know whether they are also the EC and then what? The government of the day are working together. They are the only people working together, or because the president of the day appointed the EC, so they always try to do something to favor the appointer. Because one thing, a lot of what issues are what emanated from the just ended registration. The EC said what their target is what 600,000. Where is that data coming from? Is it coming from what the Ghana Statistical Service website? They've just ended what the last year or last year? They've done some census and looking at what the data. The number of people that what are supposed to what attain the age of 18 from what 2020 to 2023, it cannot be 600,000. And we all saw what the issues, all the questions at what the various registration centers where people have to sleep overnight just to acquire the Ghana card, or excuse me to say the voters ID. And the EC coming back to say, oh, they've reached their target and even what past their target. Somebody can say, oh, my target is 40,000 or 4,000. Is that target legit? That's the should be what the focus point after all. So it shouldn't be that role. The EC is they feel they are independent and whatever they say what should be what the final issue of the day. At times what we also what have what a stake in what every activities of what the is, even though what we claim they are independent, but on the paper they actually not independent. So the guest speaker, I'm asking again, based on the issues that are raised, are you sure that what citizens or what the opposition parties and what civil society organizations actually have what a stake, or they are what actually what a stakeholders of what the IPAC? That's my question.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Honorable Gilbert. On paper, they are stakeholders. I think I clarified this earlier that IPAC, they can only make suggestions. They can only
Yes, guest speaker, you are speaking. We can't hear you. Okay, I think he encountered some technical issues, and when he comes back, we'll continue. My people, I hope you are enjoying the discussion. The discussion is very enticing, as a matter of fact. It's very, very enticing. Yes, I think he's back now. Let's see if we can hear him, for him to answer the question that Hubert posed to him. Yes, Mr. Guest Speaker, can you hear us? Can we also hear you? Yes, hello. Okay, some of the issues that I even want to raise is the fact that people do not seem to be enjoying the two-party system that we have in Ghana. They wish to see a third force. And luckily for them, a third force has emerged from one of the first or second forces. Yes, Mr. Daniel, can we hear you? I think I heard you. Yes. Yeah, so the third force that has emanated is Honorable Alan Tremonte, Movement for Change, aka Butterfly. That is the third force. So citizens that do not want to vote for NDC or NPP, maybe you can go and vote for the third force, because I think we need you all voting. Yeah, so if you don't like the elephant, you don't like the umbrella, a butterfly is there. You can try that one. I just know that it will surely be NDC or NPP. Yes, I can hardly hear you as well. If you have any phone, I'm sure you can join with that phone and complete the session with that phone. Yes, I think you are using a computer right now. So kindly join with a phone if possible, so that we can enjoy your session. If you have a phone with you. Yeah. We can equally hear you as well. So if you can join with a phone, I think that will be appreciated. Okay. Yes, I'm sure you saw my message. Okay. So as we wait for him to join, some of our members have posted some notable comments here as we await our guest speaker to join. From Adam Osman, he says, my comments, in conclusion, we all need a full constitutional amendment to tackle issues of this nature and other pressing issues in the country. I believe our current constitution has outlived its relevance, and it is the backbone of some lawlessness in the country because of its loopholes. Yes, Mr. Daniel, can you speak with your phone and let's see whether we can hear you? Let's see whether we can hear you. You'll be answering Hubert's question after I read Elom's comment. So the end of Adamu's comments is some lawlessness in the country because of his loopholes, his opinion. Now no, we can't hear you all. I think you join with your phone. If you could speak with your phone, I think that would be much more appreciated. So from Elom K. Hannibal, he said, come to think of it, please let's look at our human nature and way of thinking. There are some ideal aspects of this constitution but still the human beings who are to implement and enforce them are not doing so. How sure are we that amending the constitution will be the solution? And even and I and I even and even at the current state of the constitution, if we are to do the right thing, the problems if we are to do the right thing, the problems would not be as many as it is. That is from Elom. uh, Adamu Osman is saying is the speaker. There is no third
Mr.
force.
Speaker, can you hear me?
Yes,
Can you hear me here?
I can hear you now. I can hear
Okay,
you.
so let me quickly conclude on Honorable Hubert's question.
Yes.
Yeah, it's true. Look, as I was saying there, on paper, the political parties have a voice on paper, but as to whether or not those voices are being heard, it's a different thing. Yeah, it's a different thing, and you cannot. I mean, just as the Council of State. With him to whether or not take the decision or the guidance of the Council of State. So they have a state, but they are not clouded with that mandate to take a decision for the Electoral Commission. The worst they can do is to make suggestions, is to dialogue. The Electoral Commission will now take a final decision. All they will tell you is that they've heard you, they'll think about it, and they'll see how best they can. I mean, they can consider your advice, and that ends it there. So that's where we find ourselves as a country. That's where we find ourselves. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Thank you very much. We have some few questions coming up. Before I pose my last question, Adamu Osman said there is no third force. The movement for change is just another party like APC, PNC, GUN, PPP, etc. I doubt if they even get 1% of the votes. Hubert says, for all you know, the third force might be competing with the sports ballot. You guys are mean. Yes, Mr. Daniel, my last question. Please, if you have any question, you can raise your hand. But if there are no questions, I'll go ahead to give my last question, and after that, Mr. Daniel can give his closing remarks and proceed to close today's program. Yes, Mr. Daniel Nuku Kove, there is a pressing issue that we all seems to not tackle, although it has a bit of residual components. The issue is that as time goes on, people get tired of the NDC and the MPP or the entire electioneering process or governance in itself. And they come up with the claim, I will not vote again. I will not vote again. I will not vote again. If you ask them, they say NDC and MPP are the same. If you ask them, they say Electoral Commission will cheat. If you ask them, regardless of whoever is there, will still suffer. We are not feeling anything. Mr. Daniel, what is your response to this, and what is your recommendation to changing the minds of those people to at least exercise their franchise in deciding the parliamentarians and the president to lead us in the subsequent elections? Thank you very much. I think we lost him again, if I'm right. Okay. So, yes, Eric Aqua, let's hear you, please.
Hello, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I would like to speak on his behalf whilst he's reconnecting. In reference to the question you asked concerning the voters' apathy, yes, it's just indeed and obvious that when you entrust a whole mandate into someone and the person does not deliver to expectation, definitely there will be that apathy or lack of interest in such process again. But it is also important that we inform and educate ourselves that the Constitution gives everyone the right to vote. 1, 2. You see, the Constitution counts on the number of people that vote. It is based on the number of people that, or the number of votes casted, that we elect a leader or a president. So if you and I decide not to vote because of apathy, the family of the person contesting can equally go and vote. And whether they are 2 or 3, it is majority of that vote that determine who will be that. So in this case, we have to know that if I don't have interest and I've been disappointed in a particular leader, and therefore I feel this person was not good, it shouldn't discourage us from electing a new leader. What we have to do as citizens is to make sure we are screening the best person and actually tell people about this person that this is the one that we feel can lead the group of people or can lead the country or can lead this constituency. But rather assuming that we are all the same and therefore we will not vote, I think we are not doing any good better than the harm. Because if 3 people go and vote, they'll still be the president and they'll still rule us. But we have to rather educate ourselves. And one thing is that we should learn to also take roles or leadership roles where we equip ourselves and abreast ourselves with information. You see, this is what will help us even think through what is right and what is wrong. Because of, sorry to use, lack of high illiteracy rates where we find ourselves. This is why maybe some leaders who are not seen to be up there actually find their way in the society. You see, but when we educate ourselves and educate the people around us who do not really understand the system well, I think going forward, when Ghanaians become so much discerning as we are becoming, I think we will have a different crop of leaders who will have a different way of thinking and will understand and will be up there ready to account for the people or to the people whenever they are called upon. And we will all love voting for such people. This is what I will say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Akwa. Thank you very much. Mr. Daniel, are you active now for your response? And yes,
I'm very active.
Okay, please, let's hear your response and then your closing remarks. Thank you.
Yeah, so I noticed someone was talking to you about the third force, whether or not we need a third force. I think my comment on that will just be that we need a national agenda. I think it is time as a nation we need a national agenda to agree that look, in the next 20 years, this is what we want to achieve. And any political party that is in power, should be able to, carry out that plan. And that is the only way we can achieve some of these things. But let us not deviate from what we're discussing, like the role of the Electoral Commission. And I think that we need a lot of reforms. There must be a broader consultation. And not only IPAC. The Electoral Commission must also listen to CSOs. That brings a lot of suggestions. And they shouldn't demonize, the CSOs and think that when people criticize them or talk about some of their engagements, probably they are trying to run the Electoral Commission down. No, that is never the intent. I don't think that has ever been the intention. So my last word would be that, look, as young people, I think it is time we rise up to suggest, to make a lot of suggestions. And I would like to always join your platform to make statements and to write even petitions to the Electoral Commission on things we think that they must do, reforms. Things we think they must look at, decisions they are taking that I think are not helping us, and then make a lot of reforms that will help our electoral processes and just to maintain the sanctity of the Electoral Commission and also the peace and security of our nation. Yes. So thank you so much for the opportunity to join you today. And initially, I wanted to apologize for not making up for the first program I was supposed to be part of in person in Volta. A lot of things came up, and I called the speaker to explain to him. But in subsequent engagements and events, I'll always be part of it. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Daniel Nuku Kove, for this enlightenment. Before we let you go, I'm very interested in your political journey with respect to the last election you competed in. It's important that you, the ones who have entered into the mainstream to contest in such Republican elections, share with us your experiences and then your insights to guide us in the future. So if you could just speak to us on that in the next 5 to 10 minutes, that will be okay. We need to be inspired and learn from your journey. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would say that it was a very affirmative decision I made to myself to say I was going to contest as a parliamentary aspirant to become the parliamentary candidate. And as at the time I contested this year, I was just 27 years. I was 27. I'm still 27. And it wasn't a very easy journey. It was a very tough journey. It was a very, very tough journey, but because I remained focused, I remained determined about it, I told myself I was going to do it. And when I first started in the constituency, a lot of people thought it was a joke because when the filing fee was announced, some people had to even pull out, and people were wondering, even some of my team members were wondering how I was going to raise the money to pay. And Eric is on the platform, and he will tell you, I always tell my team, don't worry. I believe in one thing. I told God that if this journey is ordained by God or was ordained by God, then he should lead the way. And honestly, when they announced the filing fee, however I raised the money, I didn't know. I only remember that someone could come and tell you, look, I'm leaving 10,000 cities, but I'm doing this and all of that. And throughout my journey, even when I go to the conferences, sometimes, by the time I want to leave, some youth will come together and even just for my car. And there are things I want to do. I get partners and sponsors without stress. So, and I remember on TV3, I said I was going to tell the young people one thing, that nobody should give up. Nobody should feel intimidated. And nobody should ever tell any young person that, look, contesting for this position is not for young people. It's for elderly people and all of that. No, I went in, even though, it didn't go well. But we will go back at the right time. But it is the biggest interest of the party. So no young person should ever retreat on issues of contest, big parliamentary. No. And it gave me the opportunity to connect with a lot of people. And where, men can sit and make decisions. I sat there. I was with people. I listened. I contributed. So nobody should ever get discouraged. And I just remained focused. People called me that I should step down. They want to give me this amount of money. I said, no, I will go. Because even if it is one person who believed in me, I will still go and then make an impact. Now, going and not winning does not mean I have lost. But I have inspired some young people. I have served as an inspiration to some young people. If not for anything at all, for them never to give up. And that is one of the inspiration I even took out of this journey, never to give up. At a point, it was becoming so stressful. You can understand how demands come in when you are contesting and all of that. But I remained focused. And then I had a very great team, a great team around, full of young people. And I was still inspired and I went through. So that has been my experience. That has been the journey. I think I will write a book one day, or will tell the story proper one day when we all meet again. Thank you.
Wow,
Mr. Speaker.
thank you so much. I must say that this session indeed, uh, we have no regrets because even from these last few words that you have given, I personally have gotten inspired. So some of us, our fear is the fact that, of course, I also asked that question, how you are going to raise the money. But from what you have said, I'm also inspired that yes, we can make it regardless of our age. We can also get it. Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Mr. Daniel, for coming to speak with us. We are grateful for your attention this evening. I will now proceed with the closing remarks. So, honorable members, on behalf of leadership and myself, I wish to convey the sincerest gratitude of the movement to our guest speaker, Mr. Daniel Nuku Kove, the former UPSA SRC Electoral Commissioner, election analyst, and youth activist, for coming to impact us with his mass experience and lecture on the topic for the day. God bless him greatly for availing himself to impact us. I also wish to appreciate the efforts of members in publicizing this seminar and equally participating in it. God bless you all very much. For the attention of members and our participants, I hereby indulge you all to follow Youth Impact Parliament on Facebook, Instagram, X, LinkedIn, Telegram, YouTube, and WhatsApp. Youth Impact Parliament is a youth organization established in 2021, and Youth Impact Parliament is the parliamentary branch of Youth Impact Movement. Youth Impact Movement is only one, but the Parliament has international chapters. So far, we have our headquarters or our main chapter, which is the Ghanaian chapter, our Uganda chapter, and we are also working on some other chapters. And it creates opportunity for youth to be groomed in leadership roles, public speaking, parliamentary business, social norms, and values. YIP, the main chapter, is in its third parliamentary year, and Youth Impact Parliament has scheduled its third parliamentary sitting for this Sunday, 15th October 2023, at Home Municipal Assembly in the Volta region. Youth Impact Movement and its branches are equally open for support from the general public, or who wish to support okay, I guess. Oh, okay, my apologies. I guess you lost me along the way. My apologies. So, I was actually thanking the guest speaker, and I spoke about Youth Impact Parliament and Youth Impact Movement. We have our third parliamentary sitting this Sunday, the 15th of October 2023, at Home Municipal Assembly. Youth Impact Parliament is the parliamentary branch of Youth Impact Movement. As of now, we have two established chapters, the main chapter, which is in Ghana, and then our Uganda chapter. We are working on some other chapters for Youth Impact Parliament. Youth Impact Movement is open for support from members and participants. All who wish to support us can call me on 0201476896 for discussions and further collaborations, advices, contributions, and whatsoever. On this note, I want to thank you all, and let us take our closing prayer. Father Lord, we thank you very much for this day, as you have protected us, and we are here. We have experienced this beautiful session that you have designed for us. We are grateful to the guest speaker having made time to contribute with us and inspire us from his presentation, and all his colleagues who are here, and honorable members who are also here contributing and following us. We are grateful for their lives as well. As we prepare for our next session, we call on you to project our next speaker for the 17th edition, and call that it should also go on well. In the name of Christ. Amen. In the name of Jesus, amen. All right, members.
Yeah.
The session has come to an end, but we can now do unofficial streamed discussion before we leave. Just 5 minutes for that. So, at the end of every program, you can meet the guests. So now the program has ended, but 5 minutes online interaction, if you want to have, you can have it. Hubert, I leave it in your hands. If you want to ask some questions, or if you have anything to say, it's time that you can say it. You can now say that.
I don't know whether Honorable Veronica was on the call before the guest speaker presented his topic for the day, because I just saw her join it.
We don't know Honorable Veronica. Can you tell us more about her?
I personally also don't, since she is also part of the caucus is what I'm doubting. She is on the line, so we can hear from her.
Let's hear from Kelvin, Benedicta, Julius, and then all those. Yes, Veronica, they say I want to hear your beautiful voice.
Sorry. Please, honorable, my phone is spoiled, so I just have a month so that I can see.
Hey!
Oh, okay.
Hey! Okay. Vixen, Elon. Osman, you are saying that movement for change will not even get any votes. Hubert, you are saying that sports ballot will even be the third highest voted for. Is it true?
But we all know movement will not cause any difference. We should be frank to us, and it will not cause any difference. Yeah.
Are you sure? Movement for change.
Whether movement for change or MPP, they are all the same thing.
A whole butterfly.
They are all the same.
Ghanaians have some kind of loyalty, some kind of dog loyalty to political parties.
The adjective is.
Okay, so what happens if the fourth force joins? Yeah, Elon, we are listening to you.
Yes, I'm like, even if you look at the interview between the third force and then Belamundi, you realize that all the questions that he has answered, Master, he didn't even answer any question. He just disgraced himself, honestly. You get it? So if all Ghanaians are to be wise and watch the video and review it, they'll understand that this is just typical policy, like politics. Most of these people don't have the country at heart. If you are seeing the wrong, but you can talk, and now you are coming to talk and defend yourself in a certain way, what shows that if you go there, you still do the right thing. So we have so far, I've lost hope in all of them. And the coming ones, I don't know what they are even coming to do. Per the way they are talking, per the way these our third and fourth forces are talking, they are not making any sense. Actually, you see, they are not making any sense. So they have lost hope. I've lost hope for the country.
Yeah, Hubert, let's hear from you on the third force.
Okay. Right, Honorable Speaker. I think this third force, like, he has done a great disservice to himself. First, for allowing himself to serve in the second term of this current government, like, he has been part of the mess from the beginning till now. And he also created the mess that we are in now. So for him coming out to say that, oh, he wants to change the narrative and then he's having his own movement, like, before you do something great for Ghana, it's not automatic that you should become a president. Let your work speak for you. During his tenure as a minister, what has he done? The only thing that you be proud of is this Africa Continental Free Trade Area. That's the only achievement that you speak with a broad chest, right? He has done something. Apart from that, what can he pinpoint?
Oh, but
he has done a great. If you look at, I'm not trying to compare the two of them, though. The reason why he even came third in the Super Delegate Congress was the reason that he was part of the government. And look at Kennedy. He wasn't part of any ministerial position, or he wasn't holding any ministerial position. And to our surprise, he emerged the second. So he should have even declined his second term ministerial appointment to work on himself well, since he's having this agenda that he will surely contest and become a president one day. We said he was part of the founders of this party. But is it compulsory? Is it automatic that you should become a president before you work and then your work should?
I'll
not adding anything.
Well, I'll cite two examples for you. Now, going to the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Peter Obi was a governor for Anambra State for 2 terms, that was 8 years. And he became a very powerful third force for the Labour Party. Also to note, His Excellency Asija Bola Ahmed Tinubu was a godfather, means he was a founding father of the APC party. And he said he wants to be president. And he became president. All those might have inspired him to, try his hands on. So he compared himself to Tinubu and compared himself to Peter Obi in the two circumstances. Adamu, let's hear you. Why are you laughing?
See, to me, the movement for change is something born out of